pleased, and it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Mr. Olav Bowman. And he's a fundraising expert and a board member at the BlockFox Group, and is going to walk us through the exciting idea of how neurofundraising is going to work, and it's going to touch on the importance of the neuroscience in fundraising. Very glad to have you here, sir, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Thanks a lot. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm very grateful to be invited to that great event. So I would like to start with my presentation and give you an insight in in our idea to use neuroscience in fundraising in the future. And I'm working together with DCG Lab and with Nova, and we're trying to transform fundraising in a completely new way. Yes, my name is Olav Bowman, and I'm the founder and co-founder of the German and Austrian-based international consulting service group Blue Fox, which is serving especially international NPOs, not-for-profit organizations, in their mission to raise funds for their wonderful projects that they have. As there is no practical profit or benefit for the donors in donating, whether financial nor by buying something they can use and can show off with, like cars or watches or something else, more or less useful, we have to appeal to their goodwill. I personally are in this field of work since about 30 years and used to work for NPOs like UNICEF, UNHCR, Heart Foundation, WWF, and so on. In my active time, I gathered more than 500 million euros for the good cause. So, my presentation is stuck. Now it works. Yeah. So, what is our understanding of fundraising? What is fundraising all about? And we define it as all activities of an organization to bring in funds in a strategic way. A quite tough task, as it means to bring the donor in the center of the structure of a non-profit organization, which many people within these organizations don't like. Really, they want to do their work, which they think is necessary, and don't want to be bothered by the wishes and needs of those who give them the money. It's very different to commercial marketing, where everybody is focused on the target of making a profit. So sometimes fundraising is more a kind of diplomatic mission within the structure than only helping them to ask people for money in the right way to give for their meaningful projects. So I would like to talk about the usual causes we're working for. Usually we work for organizations which are helping poor or sick or impaired or old persons, and for endangered species, environmental issues, educational, or for less wealthy people, or for art also. Our target groups are people over 50 years usually, and with a heavy cluster over 65. Usually the people, the older they get, the more likely are willing to give. And this also depends on the cause. The basic courses like medical, social, animals, and so on are usually also supported by people who are, these are the typical courses which people who are older support. If you talk about issues which are environmentals, arts, sciences, or higher education, all these things which have more a cognitive part in it. The target groups are also a bit younger. With our research, which we've done, is that people beginning with 40, 45 could give for these subjects, for these causes. And there are some other basic outcomes that we found over the time is, for example, that women are more likely to give than men. And people with a solid faith-based attitude to life are also more willing to give. And if you see people which are value-based in their life, they are also very likely to give. In many countries, especially in Central Europe, are still using quite old-fashioned instruments to get the funds, especially through direct mail. In the area of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, it's about 60 to 70% of the income comes through direct mail. That means letters that you send out, and people pick it out of the post box and giving in a traditional way, usually going to the bank. Some of them are using now online banking as well. The most important thing is that the key to successful fundraising is building up a relationship. It's not about one-time or one-off donations. It's about building up a relationship with the first contact and then keep it for several years. Usually people stay with the organization for about 6 to 7 years, but there are also organizations which have donors which last for more than 10 or 15 years. Direct mail is very heavily dependent on personal data, on social demographic data and their personal data. So what we need in fundraising up to now usually is that we have the personal data of these people. But especially in Europe, and I think this will take place in other countries as well, is that the data protection laws are tightening the use of personal data more and more. Especially in Europe, it's very hard to get on this personal data and use them, and it's getting more and more problematic. And so I think that we will see a problem in the future fundraising made by using data, especially data which are falling under the law of data protection. So there are some other facts which are influencing the success at the moment and in the future. I remember that in 1999, I was taking part in an event where somebody said, in 2010, there will be no direct mail, no other thing in fundraising anymore than getting funds via the internet. And today we can see this is not, it didn't come true. In the US, there is a lot of online fundraising, but in Europe, it takes about 10 to maybe 12% of the market. In some countries, even lower. So what we find out is that the fundraising market is moving very, very, very slow. And we have a big lack of quality research. And what also tightens the problem is that younger fundraisers are losing the instinct about to contact donors. This is an issue of emotion versus ratio. And the younger fundraisers usually go more over ratio. And this is a trend which is very, which is really, really dangerous for our cause, because emotion is, of course, the key to fundraising. So, and the last problem that we are facing very much is that classical fundraising instruments, the costs are really skyrocketing. You know all about the problems with energy and also with paper. Getting paper for a reasonable price will be a problem in the future. And so the cost for fundraising will go up. So we have to find other ways to do that. What we find is that online fundraising has to become more successful now. And the decision-making process has to be perfectly understood by younger fundraisers, but also by olders. Instinct has to be substituted by knowledge, and I think it's neuroscience knowledge that we need. I would like to show you now a small film, which is a perfect example for how we usually work when we do fundraising online.
A rare and beautiful tiger, trapped by vicious steel cables, slowly dying. WWS Anti-Poaching Patrol found her barely alive, with deep wounds from the tightening snare, killed for profit, another victim of wildlife crime. There are as few as 3,890 tigers left in the wild. By adopting a tiger with WWF, you can help stop their cruel and needless deaths. Adoption costs from just $20 a month, and you'll be supporting our vital work to protect tigers. We'll send you an exciting adoption pack showing you how essential your help is. There's even a toy tiger. If you know someone who cares about tigers, adoption makes a great gift. So please make a difference. Go online and visit wwf.org.au/tiger today. Adopt a tiger and help us stop wildlife crime.
What you can see here in that TV ad is, or online ad, you can use it in online as well, is that we are using automatically. This TV ad is about 10 or 12 years old, and it is a perfect example how neuroscience works in such ads. If you notice the music, the voice, and so on, it is all made to make a certain effect in the feelings of the people who are listening and seeing this TV ad. So this is something which will be key in the future fundraising, especially in online fundraising, that we use moving image. So what is what do we want to do? Because there are not, there's, at least in Central Europe, there is no lab or no institution which is talking or thinking about neuroscience and fundraising, is that we would like to describe the donation process in detail in terms of neuroscience. Why are people giving? And describing especially every part of this process to make it very clear to fundraisers what they have to do. And then we would like to train the fundraisers in understanding this process and how to make donors more likely to give by neurofundraising, bringing neurofundrasing into our profession. Our short-term target is to develop direct mail impact using neurofundrasing, and therefore, relativating the cost problem in having more success in doing that. And the midterm, we would like to consequently introduce neurofundraising in online activities, building the activities in online fundraising on the neuroscience outcomes. Yeah, our vision for neurofundraising is that we are improving all the instruments that we are using nowadays and making them available for every organization, not only big ones, but also small ones, for campaigning groups and so on. My conclusion is that neuroscience will play an important role by bringing fundraising into the 21st century. And therefore, many wonderful institutions will be able to go on with their important work to make this world a better place. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. This has been so stimulating, and that was, I mean, bringing up some new insights in terms of how people can think of capacity building when you're struggling with the idea of fundraising, especially the young scholars when they're into doing research. They might be finding it kind of, tedious and also difficult to find the funding bodies. Governmental and private sector funding bodies are always not there, and that they are not necessarily aware of the significance of the research that we are doing. So there's always something that we need to have open eyes on, and that's the salience of what we do. So if we believe that something that we're taking care of is something which is supposed to make a difference, a noticeable change for better, then we would be we'll fight for it. And sometimes it works. Many of the instances, it's very hard to get it. But if some companies, some resources that have the facility solutions to just make it happen, and especially young generation of researchers that they do not have enough access to research funds, then they might be approaching companies and resources of what you just presented. And I was thinking, if people who are watching this and who might be following this later on, just if you take notes in keywords, you put just keywords in a random order on the white paper, and after we're done with it, let's just connect the dots. So by that, we'll be having the connectome, how does different keywords, how does different pillars or the attributes of what we're heading for are going to be cross-connected. So by that, we will be just thinking about the flow. We're going to approach from A to B, then B to C, then C to D. And by that, we'll be thinking about solutions. of the further activities that we're going to, design will be based on the ideas and also the kind of ambiguities that may emerge from the discussion today. So that was a 5-star talk, Mr. Olav. Thank you for that, and that was really insightful. Very good. So
thank you.
Yeah, sure. The criticality of the thing is that we're talking about science, and science is to approach for the exploration of the truth, and sometimes it's really difficult to tackle it, and it is tedious, it is expensive, many instances that is labor intensive. So science, which transforms into data when we're doing research, is expensive, it's not cheap, okay? So funding bodies, funding support is of utmost important between the lines, and data is not cheap. So that's why Zarella and some of the similar concepts, they have come up with the idea of how the exchange of the data sets and how data security protection and how just cross-connecting the different attributes within the new perspectives is going to be, profit generating. It's going to be a lucrative business. It's going to be, area of advancement, because knowledge is important. Knowledge is power, but money is also very significant, right? And that was what Mr. Olive was beautifully touching.